Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and this 1500 point match play game between Space Marines and Death Guard. Today's game is set on the world of Sentinel, which is taking part on the online campaign through the deployment zone called the Gehenna Inferno. As it stands right now, the end of all things are well entrenched on Sentinel, and chaos as a whole is ascending in the Gehenna sector. The Heralds of the Scourge aren't followers of the end of all things. They don't adhere to that sort of religion as such. But when the Death Guard are taking over the Sentinel, the Heralds have come along to lend their support and their weight to bring down the Imperium influence in that sector. And today the Ghosts of the Forge, the Space Marine chapter that has an ongoing saga with the Heralds of the Scourge, are here to try and secure this sector and see if they can turn the tide on Sentinel. Today we're playing an open war mission. We drew today. We drew Take and Hold. So basically we place objectives in each deployment zone. They must be 6 inches away from the edge of the battlefield and more than 12 inches away from each other. Score a victory point for each objective they control at the end of their command phase. So Take and Hold, pretty standard. Means actually it's pretty standard in terms of the current 9th edition of things. Deployment. We drew this deployment from the deck. So again, relatively close starting point if we choose to. The twist that was drawn is a +1 to the attack characteristics of all models. So hopefully should lead to a lot of wounds going on onto the table. Speaking of the table, the setup here, pretty much all the terrain is from GW. This mat is a deployment zone mat from JW Wargaming. So that being said, the buildings, we're treating pretty much everything, keeping my very small brain on a level with it. Everything is pretty much ruins and some line of sight blocking terrain, obscuring terrain. I've tried to make the layout of the table pretty standard and pretty even. So we've got the 2 sections over here, a big obscuring stuff in the middle, 2 zones either end here, and then some sort of scattered terrain, the obstacles as such, in the centre there from containers. So pretty standard setup. That all being said, let's move on to the armies. So here we have 1500 points of Space Marines, and they are the Ghosts of the Forge. It is a battalion today, and it is led by the Warlord, the captain in the Gravis armour. He is a chapter master. He has a burning blade, and his Warlord trait is Forge Master. So he's a bit of a brick. We have in support a Primaris Librarian with Might of Heroes and Null Zone, and supporting them with his tactical acumen is the Lieutenant with just a bolt pistol and a power sword. For troops choices today, nothing too exciting, just 2 squads of intercessors and a squad of tactical marines with a thunderhammer. Although he's modelled with a plasma pistol, it's actually a bolt pistol today, and a missile launcher. In heavy support we have a Devastator squad, again with thunderhammer, a Cherub, 2 plasma cannons, a heavy bolter and a las cannon. Over in fast attack we have a squad of Inceptors, again modelled with assault bolters, nothing too special about them in that respect. In our elite slots we have a Redemptor Dreadnought. He is as modelled with a Gatling cannon, the Flamer and the Onslaught Gatling cannon. We have a Ancient, a Primaris Ancient. We have a squad of Aggressors with Flamers. We then have a squad of Assault Centurions with Melters. All in all, that is 1500 points on the nose, and so let's go over and see what the Death Guard have. Okay, so here we have 1496, it's just under 1500 points of Death Guard, and these are the Death Guard warband, the Heralds of the Scourge, and they're led as always by Captain Trips. He is the Warlord today. His Warlord trait is Arch Contaminator. He has the Man Reaper with the Orb of Desiccation, and he also has the Unstable Sickness trait, which is for getting mortal wounds back if he kills models and stuff, kills enemy models during the fight phase. Backing him up is the Malignant Plaguecaster. He has been upgraded with the Putrid Periapt, so he has 3 he knows 3 psychic powers today, which is Miasma of Pestilence, the Putrescent Vitality, and Curse of the Leper. In our troop slots today we have 3 squads of 7 Plague Marines. We have one over here with the Plasma Cannon, the rest of them are all bolters, and then the champion has just got a bolter and a knife. The second squad has a Blight Launcher and Cleaver, Plasma Pistol and Power Fist on the champion, the rest are all bolters. And the third squad has a Blight Launcher and a Flail, then a Power Fist and Bolt Pistol on the bolt gun on the champion, and then the rest are all bolt guns. Then we have 2 squads of 10 Poxwalkers. Dedicated transport is a Rhino today, and then in our elite slots we have a Foul Blightspawn who's got the upgraded VAT, so he also has the ability to re-roll his number of shots. And have 2 squads of Blight Lord Terminators. This one has got a Plague Spewer and a Blight Launcher and a Flail in this squad, and then in this squad we have an Auto Reaper Cannon and a Flail. The rest were all just with either Bale Swords, Bubotic Axes and Combi Bolters. So that is the Death Guard army today, so let's head on to deployment. So here we are after deployment. The main bulk of the Death Guard went down the centre of the board. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of deployment map. It's a bit of a weird one for me, but still, you know, there's plenty of them out there. You've got to learn to really work the deployment as best you can, I guess. Anyway, so there's a squad of Plague Marines here. In this Rhino is another squad of Marines with the Foul Blightspawn, and over on this right hand flank a squad of Poxwalkers and the Blightlord Terminators. For the Space Marines on the opposing flank we have the Redemptor, a squad of Intercessors and the Librarian. The central pillar really has got the Devastator Squad, Captain, Aggressors, Ancient, Lieutenant and another squad of Intercessors. And down this flank here, in an effort to maybe push down this side towards the main bulk of the Death Guard forces, we've got the Inceptors, the Centurions and the Tactical Marines. So we'll roll off. We'll roll off with the Death Guard being a 4 and the Space Marines being a 3. So Death Guard gets turn 1. At the end of the movement phase, we didn't do anything in the command phase apart from gain a command point. We had nothing else to really do at this point in the game. So in the movement phase, this Rhino and this squad of Plague Marines advanced. The Terminators advanced. This squad of Plague Marines just moved normally. As did the Lord of Contagion, the Psyker, the Poxwalkers stayed still. I'm holding that objective, and this Poxwalker squad stayed still, but this squad of Terminators started to move and started making their way up this flank, heading towards that side of the Space Marine lines. So a couple of things to do in terms of the psychic phase, namely the things we'll do are putrescent vitality and miasma pestilence. There's not much else to go off really. So what I want to do, we've got a strength 7 unit here in terms of the Rhino, so I'm not too concerned about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put miasma pestilence on this squad of Plague Marines, which goes off on a 10, so they are now -1 to hit. And putrescent vitality is a bit of a difficult one because, like I say, there's some pretty tough units around the cycle at the moment. The Poxwalkers aren't really in danger this phase, this turn, because there's nothing in Deep Strike or anything that can't come in anyway. So we will put putrescent vitality onto that central squad of Marines, just give them an extra little bit just in case, which goes off as well. So they are pretty beefed up. So with that we'll move on to the shooting phase. So at the end of the shooting phase and essentially the end of the turn for the Death Guard, we have managed to kill 1 Intercessor from the lead squad at the front there. The only squad to really fire out was the Plague Marines here, and the Blight Launcher from the Terminators over here. So the Blight Launcher did no wounds on the Redemptor Dreadnought, but like I say, this Plague Marine squad managed to pick off an Intercessor. So nothing else doing really, there's no charges to make. We'll head on to Space Marines turn 1. So at the end of the Space Marines movement phase, we're just a bit of shuffling around really. Those are those early first turn moves. We brought the Centurions up and round, moved forward with the Inceptors. The Aggressors advanced. We brought the Devastator squad so they can get some kind of line of sight. The Intercessors stay still, along with the Lieutenant. This squad of Intercessors moved, advanced forward. I managed to get just inside range of the objective, and again the Redemptor just moved forward. I spent the CP on Wisdom of the Ancients because although they can't be affected by it. He certainly can be. And just shuffle the Librarian around. So Librarian has Might of Heroes and Null Zone, so as well as Smite, but obviously nothing's in Smite range. What we will do, just to buff up the Redemptor a little bit, is try and get Null Zone off, Might of Heroes off. So it's a warp charge of 6, that goes off on a 7, so he's up until the next psychic phase, anything comes his way, he's got a little bit more about him. So with that, we'll move on to the shooting. So far the Redemptor Dreadnought has fired everything from its heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. I actually managed to kill a Terminator and put one on 1 wound, so nice shooting. This squad of intercessors has fired into, basically we were going to go for the Terminator and start trying to plink, but the Death Guard player, Death Guard player spent a CP on Cloud of Flies for the Terminators, so it made them ineligible to be shot at by the squad here, so forcing the Space Marine player to go into the squad that's got miasma on them at the front here. So just, you know, it affected a couple of shots. They're not within rapid fire range, so well, they were actually, because they stood still. So let's do that again for 5 more shots. Wow, yeah, so 1 goes through, and plinks a wound. So 1 wound off of that out of 10 shots, so it does make a difference, that miasma. So what we'll do, I'll mark that up in a second, but we're going to come around here to the Inceptors, and they will fire everything into the squad of Plague Marines at the back there. So that will be 12 shots. On 3s. And strength 5 versus toughness 5, so moving on 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 wounds at -1. Okay, so 4 go through, so that's 2 Marines dead. I'll mark that up in a moment, not bad. So the only thing left that we can do really is fire the Devastator squad. The only real valid target is going to be the squad of Marines at the front here. So what we'll do, we'll use the signal will be on the last cannon, always is. So far we've shot the 2 plasma cannons, which managed to plink a wound off and kill the 1 wound Marine, and the heavy bolt, which has also plinked another wound off. So it's 1.5 Marines down so far. So we'll just roll off for the last cannon. So it'll be we paid a CP at the start of the movement phase, sorry, for steady advance. So it'll be 2s to hit, which hits, 3s to wound. It wounds. There's no save because it's a heavy weapon, so it'll be -4. So d6 damage. For 3, reduced down by 1 to 2, so it just kills a Marine. So that's 2.5 so far. So it just kills off that other Marine on 1 wound. So that's only 2 Marines gone so far. So what we'll do, I don't think we'll bother spending the Armorian Cherub just yet, because we might want to do some more shuffling and maybe take out another target if we can. So again, the only thing that's eligible to charge, if I really want to, would be the Inceptors into this squad of Marines. The Ghosts always use Whirlwind of Rage, so 6s in combat generate extra hits, and the hungry for battle, which gives them +1 to their advance and charge. It's a 8-inch charge into that squad of Plague Marines, so let's give it a go. Not on that, it's not. I will spend a CP. That's better. I'm also spending a CP at the end of the charge phase for Hammer of Wrath. It doesn't leave me with many left, to be fair, but that's what we're going to do. Hopefully 5s and 6s deal mortal wound will just help as we go in. And no, not bad. Good. So with the shock assault, we've got this many, however many this many is, going into the Plague Marines, hitting on 3s. Not bad. Okay, this is the dicey part, which is strength 4 versus toughness 5, so wounding on 5s. So on the charge with shock assault, that's 11 attacks coming in all told. So looking out for 6s, which is additional hits. So hitting on 3s. That's pretty rubbish. So missed on 4, but putting 1 back in because of the 6, and 5 to wound. So it's 2 wounds. 2 wounds after all that. And one takes a wound. Excellent. And after the fight back, I consider spending CP on a couple of things like trench fighters or anything else like that, but I didn't bother to begin with because this is just a bit of I don't want to spend too much CP in the first couple of things. So either which way, the fight back by the Plague Marines put 2 wounds on to the Inceptor, nearly taking 1 down in the first go. So yeah, it's good shooting. So that marks the end of the Space Marine phase, Space Marines term. So again, nothing really doing too much. I think on this side here I didn't have to charge them in, but I just wanted to see what I could do in terms of getting a bit lucky and start to whittle that down. Now the Death Guard's player got a choice to make. He will still gain the command point because number of models and his obsec, so but I was hoping to try and clear more of those troops out basically. It didn't pay off, but he's got a choice to make. He can't fire with that unless so he's got remaining combat, fall back, and that's a squad out of the running if he decides to do that. So yeah, that's the end of the Space Marine phase, Space Marine's turn. So on to Death Guard, turn 2. So at the start of the Death Guard turn 2, we didn't do anything in the command phase. There's nothing really needed to be done, so we went straight on to the movement phase, in which we the Foul Blight Spawn and the squad of Plague Marines disembarked from the Rhino. The Rhino moved up. Then this squad of Plague Marines stayed in combat, and just generally a slow shambling advance across the battle grid from all of the Death Guard forces. The Plague Marines went forward, the Terminators and the Lord of Contagion again aiming down this central avenue, and the Terminators over here looking to head off this right hand side flank. Poxwalkers just sort of ambling around and staying still and just doing what Poxwalkers do. So That being said, onto the psychic phase. The plague caster is again going to try and give this lead unit -1 to hit with miasma of pestilence, so which goes off, and then he's going to throw a smite into the interceptors, being the nearest squad, which just goes off for D3 for 2, so that kills 1 and puts 1 down to 2 wounds. So with that, we'll move on to the shooting phase. So we fired out with everything in this Plague Marine squad, including the Blight Launcher, into the squad of Centurions, and took a couple of wounds off of the lead guy. I tried to use him for his cover save, adding on to his cover save, but it was to no avail. So now onto the Foul Blight Spawn. Is going to again put everything into that squad of Assault Centurions. So we get to roll for the number of shots for this weapon, but because he's got the relic on him, we can actually re-roll that the result, which with a 2 we most definitely will. To get a 3, amazing. Right, so they all hit because it's essentially a flamer. So it is strength 7 versus toughness 5, so 3's to wound, re-rolling 1s, and that's a very good job with re-rolling 1s. It's a plague weapon. So 2 wounds at -3, 2 damage each. Ooh, so close. That takes out the first Centurion, which could be significant when it comes to the fight phase. So this lead squad here, we're going to spend a CP on virulent rounds, so they gain the plague weapon keyword, so they can re-roll the 1s to hit, and then within 6 inches of a lord, so they get re-rolls. So everyone to wound with virulent rounds and re-roll 1s to hit because the lord is near them. So everything's going to go into the squad of intercessors by the containers. So 3's to hit, re-rolling any 1s, which of course there aren't any. Strength 4 versus toughness 4, so 4's to wound, re-rolling any 1s. So missing 3 there, and this 1, which makes a difference. So there's 4 wounds. The intercessors will get, they're within 3 inches of the cover, so they will get the light cover save. So there's no AP on that one, so there'll be 2 up, and 1 takes a wound. So after firing out with the Reaper autocannon from this squad, we're going to spend another CP on Vermid Whispers, which is like a Blight Lord Terminator specific one really, where it adds 1 to the attack roll, whether it's the fight phase or the shoot phase. So because they're also Terminators, they get the basic double tap every time. So there's a lot of shots coming in here, and by adding that 1, stratagem will be hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s because of the captain, the Lord of Contagion nearby. So here we go. So 4 to re-roll. So only drop 1 shot there, but strength 4 versus toughness 4. And see if we can clear out that intercessor squad. There's only a couple left in there, so pick up that and drop dice in a minute. So 4's to wound. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wounds. Okay. There's no AP, I don't believe. So it'll be what do I say? 6 wounds. So yeah, it'll be 2 up saves, which one takes a wound. So so on this flank we're splitting fire, and we're going to put the blight launcher into the Redemptor, and we're going to put the plague spewer and the combi bolters into the intercessors. So we'll start with the combi bolter. Oops, misses twice, he's obviously tired and doesn't wound. The plague spewer for D6 shots for 1. I've not spent a CP because the thing was a reroll for the blight spawn. Excellent. So strength 5 versus toughness 4. Everyone, so 2 wounds at -1. So I'll put them against. I need to put them against one of the units that's in cover. So, so 1 takes a wound. I'll mark that up. Put them against the Auspex guy, and then the blight launcher. So blight launcher into the Redemptor. 2 hits, strength 6 versus I think his toughness 8 now because of the wisdom, because of the might of heroes. So either which way it's 5 to wound. 1 wound at -2, which goes through. So he takes a wound. So that being said, now it's all on to the charge phase. I think really only 2 charges we're going to declare, which will be the Blight Lords. It's a 9-inch charge into these intercessors. See if we can stop the Space Marines getting an objective point, a victory point in the next in their turn. Down here, there's an eligible charge here. It's 9 inches, so it's doable, but I don't know. There's 8 wounds to get through. Toughness 5. I'll have a think. I might have to use a couple of stratagems to make this work, but we'll declare a charge between here and onto these guys as well. So the charge that I think I really do want to go off, because it will certainly make a difference come. There's nothing on this objective, the Space Marines. I've only got literally 1 model in there, so if I can get the charge off, I will deny the points there. I'm not going to deny points down that side, because there's that squad of Space Marines at the back there are still going to be on the objective, so that's why I was in 2 minds about it. It's not going to make a difference really, but certainly this charge here will. So we'll give it a go, and that's what we'll save the CP for here. Oof, don't need it there, really in. Okay, so we'll get those in a minute. And the squad of Plague Marines into the Assault Centurions. 6. That'll take me down to 4 CP. Yeah, go on. Let's give it a go. See if we'll do some tricks whilst we're there. No, okay. Never mind. Right, we'll move the Terminators in, and so just to be super annoying, the Space Marines have spent a CP on transhuman physiology just to really end up being annoying on this lot. So after the Death Guard are powered in, it will be there's 3 models there with axes, so they'll be hitting on 3s, actually we'll spend another CP taking us down to 3 CP on the Vermin Whispers again, so we can add 1 to the attack roll, just because if I've got transhuman, the more dice I've got the better. So we'll be hitting on 2s. Oof. Okay, but considering you know, and it's a strength that'd be strength 6, so wounding on 3s. The toughness has gone down 1, but either which way it doesn't really matter, because you're now wounding on 4, 5s and 6s because of transhuman. So but at least we've got an extra pop at the dice there. And that is not bad. That is 5 wounds at -2, 1. So 5 wounds come through, -2. Not bad, but 3 go through, so that kills a 1-on-1 wound and kills another. And then the flail comes in. Again, misses with 2. Again, doesn't really matter now, they're literally really on 4, 5s and 6s. But re-rolls are 1s, so that's 1 so far. And 1 more, so 2 wounds going through there on the flail. So each one of these is -2 damage, and another one is killed. And so with the Space Marines pile in and do their attacks, managing to knock another wound off the Blightlord Terminators. So the only other thing now is to move over to the Inceptors and the Plague Marines and resolve that. The Inceptors will fight first, because defenders attack first, so we'll resolve that and go through. Now I know it's not much, but when 5 Inceptor attacks come in and you're hitting on 3s, you know it's a bad day at the office. So at the end of the Death Guard turn, we've certainly made advances across here, starting to deny the Space Marine player points here. Whittling down some of the troop choices over here, and certainly starting to make advances down either flank and through the central core. So that being said, we'll go on to the Space Marines turn 2 and see what they can bring to the party. So at the end of the Space Marine movement phase, we've brought the Redemptor through and moved up the Librarian. Obviously remained in combat because they're pretty much wrapped there with the Intercessors. We brought the Intercessors and the Lieutenant and the Captain all up, as well as the Aggressors, with the idea being that the Devastator squad will hold on to this objective here. This squad of Tactical Marines has moved inside the building, but again retaining the objective for further turns, and the Centurions have moved through, and the Inceptor shot out of combat and went, don't fancy that anymore, and went up on the top there just to give himself a bit of breathing space. So that being said, we also spent a command point that we gained on Wisdom of the Ancients for the Redemptor to re-roll 1s. So moving on to the psychic phase, we're going to use Might of Heroes on the Redemptor again for a walk charge of 6, which goes off, and we also then we've got a choice. We're going to use either Smite or Null Zone. I think in this particular instance I'm going to use Null Zone because I can then get rid of the invulnerable saves on the Terminators, which will be significant for the Redemptor charging in, I think, in a later phase. So that's got a warp charge of 7. That also goes off, so there's now no invulnerable save for anybody in this null zone over here. So here's the decision I've got to make. So I've got 4 CP left. I want to get rid, or try and do some damage on this lot here. But equally, I kind of want to get in for charging. I mean, these guys are pretty much out of it, to be fair. I don't know whether I'm just spending CP for the sake of it, because I could spend those 4 CP I think I can anyway. I mean, I'm a Salamander's successor, so I'm assuming I can still use these Salamander cards. I know there's been an FAQ about this one, etc. But my plan was to use all 4 CP and do a damage on this lot here. See what I could whittle down for later turns. In fact, you know what? It's a Gehenna Inferno game. Inferno being the flame thing, obviously. So yeah, let's do it. So correct me if I'm wrong in any comments or anything if I'm not allowed to use those, but I think I am. So I'm going to go for it. There's a lot of dice to roll, so I'll come back after I've rolled them. So for 4 CP spent and some absolute boss save rolls by the Plague Marines, we only whittled down 3. So yeah, money well spent. Anyway, that being the end, everything basically fired through. Intercessors bounced, Tactical Marines bounced. To be honest, Assault Centurions, 4 melter shots and all missed against. I've rolled 3 1s and a 2. There you go. And the Devastators targeted the Terminators. A couple got through, but 4 up saves, 4 up invulnerable saves are what doing what they're supposed to do. So that being said, we'll move everything on to the charge phase. A few charges across the board. I won't be charging the Tactical Marines in because it's a take and hold, so you've got to hold the objective, but I will charge the Assault Centurions in to this Plague Marine squad here. So they'll be charging in. I will charge the Aggressors into this Plague Marine squad to start putting pressure on the lines here. I also charge the Ancient in, and then around here I will charge the Redemptor and the Librarian in. So I'll come back after the charge rolls. So the Centurions made it in, they rolled a 6 and got through. The Aggressors and the Ancient both failed their charge, but the Redemptor and the Librarian got in as well. So the Death Guard player hasn't got enough CP to interrupt anywhere, so what we'll do is I will start across with the Assault Centurions. I'll probably roll that off camera, and then I'll come back with the Redemptor and the Librarian. So a couple of whiffs on the Assault Centurions, but managed to get 5 Marines down there, which was not bad. I think losing that Assault Centurion, which I've since realised did have a 2-up save, blah 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 blah, so possibly was that, but you live with your mistakes, that's what you have to do. I won't do it again, but I probably will. So anyway, the Redemptor with Might of Heroes has an additional attack for his base, so with Shock Assault he has 6 attacks, hitting on 3s and wounding on 2s. So let's see how we get on. So everything hits. That's a very, very good start with a 6 there because of the Whirlwind of Rage, which I run Hungry for Battle and Whirlwind of Rage on these guys. So +1 to advance and charge, and 6s to hit, get an additional hit. So 2s to wound, because he's now strength 14 versus toughness 5. No CP to re-roll, so that is 2 for 6 saves. Null zone's gone off, so there is no invulnerable save for the Terminators, so that is 5 at -2, I want to say. I'm pretty certain it's -2. -3, so 5 ups. So 3, 5, 6 at 5 ups. Not bad, but that is the 1-on-1 wound dies, and 2 more because it's D3 plus 3. So it would have automatically, I'll roll it off actually, just to be certain. First one, a D3 plus 3, so that's for 4, minus 1 for thing, that makes it a dead Terminator, another dead Terminator. So now the Librarian, hitting on 3s, and he is wounding on 4s because he had the sword gives him a +1. Ooh, and then there's also 5-ups. Of which 2 go through. So it'll be 2d3 damage that have gone through. So the first one is for 1. And the second one, we need a 5 or 6 on this one, is for 1. So that leaves 1 Terminator alive on 1 wound. That's annoying. That's really, really annoying. So after resolving the battle over here, the flail and the champion managed to take down one of the Centurions, so leaving 1 Centurion left. He can't fail his morale. However, we rolled a 6 for the remaining Terminator here, so he did fail his morale because he was only a Terminator, he wasn't the champion, which again, removing the wrong models causes a problem. But I chose to keep the flail because I thought it would do some damage, which obviously did do, remove the intercessors completely. But again, lessons learned. So at the end of the Space Marines turn, we've managed to clear this flank here, start to make some inroads onto this flank, but I don't think that Centurion is going to be long for this world after that Blight Spawn gets involved. We'll see. But that central column is still pretty much intact. So let's see what Death Guard do for turn 3. So at the end of the Death Guard movement phase, again we just gained a command point. There wasn't much to do in the command phase at this point. So these Plague Marines have remained in combat. These guys have moved up onto that objective to secure that. The Blight Spawn's moved forward, so he's in range of what he wants to do in terms of who to fire at and who to charge. The Rhinos come around just in an effort to be annoying. And again, this central column has started to move its way up into the centre ground, into the middle of the board. The Poxwalkers on both that objective there and that one behind the craters have just stayed still. So that being said, we'll move on to the Psychic phase. So the Psychic phase was pretty good in terms of the Smite went off and killed the last 2 intercessors that were here. But Miasma Pestilence didn't go off, and I didn't do a re-roll because I've only got 2 command points at the moment, so I thought I'd save them. So that being said, not too many targets because although so these guys, we're on to the shooting phase. So what we'll do, we'll be putting this squad here into the Tactical Marines, Blight Spawn into the Tactical Marines, try and get rid of them off of that objective, and then see what we decide to do in terms of charging the Assault Centurion. Down the central column here we'll start, because now that lieutenant is now exposed, so he is eligible to be shot at. The captain is as well, because although he's got Lookout Sir, he's still the closest model, and these aggressors are as well. So start cherry picking off some of these Space Marine targets here and see what we can do. So I'll roll off some of them and I'll come back for this central bit here again. So after the shooting phase, the Blightspawn managed to get rid of a couple of tactical marines here, but the squad of Plague Marines didn't get any wounds, and basically pretty much I managed to plink a couple of wounds off an aggressor, but not much else done down this central corridor really. So again, not rolling too hot. So moving on to the charge phase, I think the only two things we're going to do, we've got 2 units that are eligible to charge, 3 units are eligible to charge, I think, which will be the Plague Marines here, the Blightspawn, and this squad of Plague Marines. I don't think I'm going to, if I charge these, they're off the objective basically, unless I string them out a bit. So I'll have a think about that. But I don't think I'm going to charge them. That guy's only got 4 wounds with a flail and a power fist. I think he might. It's touch and go, but I don't think I will. But I will charge the Blightspawn into these guys. Any of these I can whittle down. Again, I'll start getting myself into a position of either contesting the objective, denying points again, or maybe even taking it over if I really fall lucky. So we'll measure up and roll in for the charges. So after the foul Blightspawn charged in, he managed to do 1 wound onto one of the tactical marines. So working our way back over to this squad, the Gravis captain managed to heroically intervene. But obviously we'll start off with the Plague Marines onto the lieutenant. We're going to put everything into the lieutenant to try and just get rid of that. I don't think it's worth putting it into the Gravis captain just yet. So we'll start off with the cleaver, which is 2 attacks, hitting on 3s. Good start. Actually no, it's -1, so they both miss. Excellent, cracking start. The 2 Plague Marines. So strength 4, toughness 4, and both wound, -1. He's fine. And then the Plague Champion, I'm hitting on 4s because of the power fist. Oh god. Wounding on 3s. Yep. And it's a 6-up save, which he doesn't get. So the lieutenant takes 2 damage, takes 2 wounds. So now we'll just organise the fight. Now after whiffing with the first 2 tactical marines, we managed to get all 3 hits. We actually rolled a 6, a 4 and a 2, but the 6 generates extra hit because of the whirlwind of rage. So I thought it was worth getting that bit on camera. I wasn't going to, but I will now. So the Thunderhammer being giving him strength 8, so it's wounding on 3s. Oof. I don't have any CP, so that's -2, so that'll be -2, which the Blightspawn's fine anyway. So yeah. So now on the fight back, which is just something that I've really annoyed with myself yet again. Forget that I've made him a chapter master and I haven't nominated a single squad or unit to re-roll anything all game. Phenomenal. Again, live and learn. So anyway, as he heroically intervened, he's eligible to fight, so we'll start off with him. He has 6 attacks, 5 attacks base, 1 attack for heroically intervening. So he'll be hitting on 2s. All hit. He's now, with his burning blade, he's now strength 7, so he'll be wounding on 3s. And each wound is -5 and goes straight through. So that is 3 that go through, so that kills a marine and puts 1 on 1 wound, because it's 2 damage but obviously reduced by 1. So that's 1 marine and a half down. The lieutenant, he will have, as he's been charged, 5 attacks. He only has a power sword, so hitting on 2s, 2 extra hits there because of Whirlwind of Rage. And do you know what? If I forgot it for the captain again, super annoying, but it's late at night. And he'll be strength 5, toughness 5, so wounding on 4s. And that is 2 wounds go through, -3, 2 damage, so 2 6-up saves, and make 1 fail 1, so that kills that second marine, leaving 2 alive. So at the end of the Death Guard turn, basically tied up a couple of character units into combat, and again tied up a unit in combat here. Oh, we've not done these guys yet. So defenders fight first on this one. Let me do that now. He will have 3 attacks. Let's get those together. So 4 attacks, it's the sergeant. So 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. Seriously, I like models, I like assault centurions, but Jesus Christ, straight through kills another model over there. And then fighting back with the I'll keep the champion alive, so fighting back with the champion, that's 2 hits, and that is 2 wounds. He makes 1, fails 1. No, he doesn't. No, he fails them both. Although, yeah, they're both inside the terrain, so fails them both. So after the champion cuts down the assault centurion with his power fist, accelerates forward, advancing onto the tactical marines in combat. So we'll see what that brings next turn. Then that's now the end of the Death Guard turn. Again, so now they're actually really making a clear advancement down this flank. So you have to give the Space Marines something to think about, because there's objectives up for grabs here. It will still be okay, I think, because that is an elite choice, so it won't be obsec. So we should still maintain that objective there. But it's some serious thought to have, because the Space Marines are falling behind, will start to fall behind in points if we start to lose this flank. So yeah, on to Space Marines turn 3. So at the end of the Space Marine movement phase, we've on the command phase we've gained a command point. Haven't spent it on anything. We're going to save it. But we've left the captain and the lieutenant in combat. We've brought the Redemptor up to try and get line of sight of the Psyker, because I think he's going to be the closest now. And brought the aggressors up with the Ancient. These guys have remained in combat, but cheekily the Inceptor has come around the back here in an effort to try and clear these Poxwalkers. So all that being said, movement phase is all over, so let's move on to the psychic phase. So we're going to nearest visible unit, we're going to throw a smite into these guys in combat, which I am now actually going to spend the CP to re-roll that, because I really want that to go off, which it does. So for D3, right, excellent. And then we will do Might of Heroes onto the we'll do Might of Heroes onto the lieutenant, to give him that extra attack if he survives. No. No, we'll do it onto the Gravis captain, and it goes off. So the Gravis captain is now, he's got Might of Heroes on him. So that being said, move on to the shooting. So really into sort of summary kind of time now. Not masses of shooting, so managed to plink a couple more wounds off the Rhino. One wound taken out of 17 shots from the Flamestorm aggressors into the Terminators. With Smite and pistols into shooting, managed to kill off the other Plague Marine and put a one wound onto the Champion. And the Redemptor managed to plink a wound off of the Psyker. But that's pretty much it. The Inceptor did not do anything really around here. Now the issue you've got is we've got I think 3 attacks on the charge, maybe 4 attacks if it's the Sergeant. So 3 attacks, 4 attacks on the charge. I don't have any CP to do mortal wounds, so and these guys are obsec, so it's not going to make much difference. But equally, I don't think they'll tear down. Maybe they'll tear down 2 wounds on that if the Psyker can swing round, and probably smite him next turn anyway. So yeah, probably not worth the charge in. But we'll see. Why the hell not? So the only real charges that are worth making are going to be the aggressors onto the Terminators. So we'll get that measured up and get that in. So on the charge, with the aggressors, the Inceptor killed off 2 Poxwalkers on the charge. So anyway, we're going to roll in with this. Now bear in mind, this is where I must remember the rules. So we're hitting on 3s, 6s do additional hits because of Whirlwind of Rage. So we're hitting on 4s because of the -1, because of the Power Fists. So 4s, 6s do additional hits. So let's pray for some 6s. That's excellent. That's been the story of this evening, whittling down to 4 wounds, 4 hits. So strength 8 versus toughness 5, so 3 to wound. So all wound onto the 4-up in bun, of which 2 go through. So 2 damage becoming 1 damage. There's 1 that's taken a wound, so it does kill a Terminator in the squad. So now time for the fight back. So now fighting back with the Terminators into the aggressors. We'll start off with the flail. So he's going to get 6 attacks and he'll be hitting on 3s. He's within 6, so he'll be rolling the 1s. So let's go from there. So rerolls a 1. Okay, so now there's toughness 4 versus strength a lot versus strength 5, so 3s to wound, rerolling the 1s, and that's a good job. So all wound at -2 damage. Now obviously I've got 1 on 1 wound, and I've got the ancient nearby, so let's see what we can get. That's really good. So that one dies and another one dies, so on a 4-up they get to fight back. So I'll make a note of that one. Then we've got 6 attacks coming in for the axes. Move on to the 1. Okay. And that's going to be strength 6 versus toughness 4, so 3s again. Move on to the 1s. So that's another 4 wounds go through, -2, 1 damage each. So that's another 2 wounds. An aggressor with 1 wound remaining. We've got the bale swords coming through. All hit. Re-rolling those 4 1s, and so that is 4 again. And he's dead. So does he get to fight back? No, he doesn't. So that's 1 that gets to fight back and misses every time. Phenomenal. Absolutely great stuff. What a sterling performance tonight. So in the fight back for in the centre of the board here, the Plague Champion of 3 attacks hitting on 4s or not, and then the Foul Blight Spawn will also doesn't do too bad there. 2 wounds, and rerolls a 1, so 3 wounds, and he kills one of the Marines that's on 1 wound. So now let's do the fight back for the Space Marines. So the Sergeant, the Thunderhammer hitting on 4s, both hit, 1 wound, but he's okay. His rusted, rotting armour holds firm. The other Marine hits, doesn't wound. Okay, so let's move. I'll get the dice ready and we'll move on to the centre of the board for the captain. So we have the Gravis Captain and the Lieutenant going into the Plague Champion, who's on 1 wound remaining. And after all the attacks came through from the Gravis Captain, the Plague Champion was no longer there. It was cut down by that burning blade, allowing the Gravis Captain to consolidate forward slightly with his Lieutenant. So that marks the end of the Space Marine turn. It's looking a bit bleak, to be fair. There is not much left on the Space Marine side. Need to really have a think around what to do, if anything, at the moment. We've got this objective here, this objective here. So turn 4 we'll possibly be looking at scoring 2 more points, taking us to 7. If they survive this, then they won't have. The trouble is, at the moment I've got this model here that as soon as he moves forward or advances forward, then he will have obsec and will potentially count as an extra model. So Death Guard are going to get 3 more. 3 more. We didn't do the fight back for the Poxwalkers. That's good points. 2, 4, 6. So 12. We didn't do this. Didn't matter anyway. They were rubbish. So there'll be 3 more points for the Death Guard this turn, taking them to 9, with the potential for Space Marines to get to 7. It may really come down to turn 4, but I don't think there's going to be much left. Let me move them up and we'll see. Anyway, we're going to move on to Death Guard turn 4. So after the Death Guard command phase and movement phase, they've really started solidifying their position in the centre of the board. They brought the Terminators up with an eye to take out the Ancient, and if all things pan out, they can load a Contagion onto the Gravis Captain as a charge as well. Down this flank here, the Foul Blightspawn's moved out of combat, and this Plague Marine and these Plague Marines have moved themselves forward into firing position to try and eradicate those last 2 Tactical Marines. The Poxwalkers have stayed in combat because that's what they do, and these Poxwalkers have again remained stationary within this objective. So again, that's 3 objectives scored for the Death Guard, taking them to 9 points. So we'll move on to the psychic phase. So what we'll be doing is a smite. I think the nearest is going to be the Gravis Captain, so I'll give that a go. Which goes off for D3 for 2 mortal wounds. And then what we'll do, because we're now into contagion range, especially with that Lord adding to it, we will do Curse of the Leper, which, see if that goes off, which it does. So 7 dice, 3, 4, 6, 7. Now the toughness of that captain will be 4 because of the contagion, so 5s and 6s will do mortal wounds. That's out of the tray, so 2 more mortal wounds onto him, so that's 4 wounds, leaving him I think 2 remaining. So not a bad psychic phase so far. So down this flank, we'll probably do them all together to be fair, because we've got the he's got a bolt gun, and all these have got bolt guns barring the plasma. So we'll do all these together into the Tactical Marines, and then the plasma will also go into the Tactical Marine as well. So let's see how that pans out. So after everything, after the smoke clears from all the bolter rounds, it's the Sergeant left standing defiantly in front of 2 squads, or a squad of Plague Marines and a Foul Blightspawn. So let's see if they can tear him down in the charge phase later. For now, we'll move over to this central column, and we're putting all of the rounds from the Terminators will go into the Devastator squad, try and eradicate them, or at least whittle them away from that. So all of the rounds came through and only did 1 wound onto one of the Marines. So with that, quickly firing through into the charge phase. So we'll be charging this Marine and this squad of Marines into the Sergeant. We'll be charging the Blight Lords into the Ancient, and we'll be charging the Lord of Contagion into the Gravis Captain. So with successful charges across the board, everything from both squads will go into that Tactical Marine. We will spend a couple of CP on Trench Fighters and Creeping Blight because we really want to make sure we get rid of that Tactical Marine. So that takes down to 1 CP. And then everything from the Blight Lord Terminators will go into the Ancient, and then we'll come back for the big fight. So here we go, we're going to put everything from the Lord of Contagion into the Gravis Captain. It's going to be a Warlord on Warlord. We know the Lieutenant can intervene, but we haven't got any CP anyway, so it just makes him eligible to fight. So we have 5 attacks. Hitting on, we're going to use the cleave option because it's 2 damage and it's -3, so really want to get it across the line here. So they all hit, and that makes him strength 7 versus toughness 4, so it's 3s to wound. And re-rolling the 1s, so that's 3 wounds at -3, so 6 up saves, 4 up invuln, of which he doesn't make it, and they're 2 damage each, so that tears down the Gravis Captain. And so the Lieutenant fights back. And so the Lieutenant fights back, doing everything he can after seeing his colleague, his brother in arms, tore down in front of him. So everything hits and gains an additional hit because of Whirlwind. So it'll be strength 5, this is toughness 5, so winning on 4s. 3 wounds there, and straight onto the invuln save. And he takes a wound. So interestingly, because he takes a wound on a 2 up because of the suppurating plate, it will go back and do a mortal wound, which it does, reducing the Lieutenant down to 1 wound remaining. So the only other hero of the hour would be the Ancient, who managed to withstand all the attacks that came in and reduced him down to 1 wound remaining. So he gets to fight back with 4 attacks and 5 attacks because he's been charged. Hitting on 3s and winning on 5s. No wounds. Right, so that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. So all across the board, the Death Guard have really moved into the Space Marine territory. So this objective has been taken at the loss of that one, but we're now right into the enemy lines. There is not much left. I need to have a serious think about this from a Space Marine perspective and just see what it's worth doing. Of course, we having gone second, Space Marines do score their things at the end of turn 5. Just got to see if it's even something I can get back based upon the fact that we're going to be losing 3 objectives every turn. So I'll have a think. So we have a plan. There is a slight bit of hope, but we're not entirely sure. So this Inceptor has fell back out of combat and headed over towards that objective. The Redemptor has managed to move around and will try and take these Poxwalkers off of this objective, the lieutenants fell back, opening up the Lord of Contagion to be shot at, because these guys are in combat with the Ancient, who can't leave combat. And the Librarian stayed where he is, because in an effort to try and make sure come turn 5 we do have as many objectives as we can, because based on this, if things fall lucky come our turn 5, the Space Marines turn 5, there is potential for 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe, being 2 points behind, maybe we'll be able to get some kind of draw. We'll see what happens. So that being said, we're going to have to, there's nothing that this Librarian can smite. The only thing he can do is potentially put Might of Heroes on the Lieutenant, so we'll give that a go, which fails, and I'm not spending the CP for that, so it's a good start so far. So onto the shooting phase. We'll start with the Redemptor with his D6 flamer shots for 3, and so 2 go through. Let's see if we can do the 2 6-up shrugs. No, so that's 2 of the Pox Walkers from over here fall. We'll of course take them from the back. And then we've got 12 shots from the Gatling cannon. So that's 3, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. So hit on 3s. Oh god. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. Amazing. And then strength 6 versus toughness 4, so 3s again. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up shrugs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of which none are made, so a further 5 fall. So 3, 5. So we should be in with that. Actually, let's make his charge hard. Oh, no, because he's obsec, so let's see. So then, nothing to shoot from the Inceptor, so the only thing we can do now is with the Devastator squad. So we're going to put everything into the Lord of Contagion. So we'll start off with the plasma cannons for 3. We will overcharge just because it gives us a greater chance of wounding. So 2 miss, 1 miss, no wounds. Okay, so the next one, again 3. He's dead, but 1 hits, does a wound, and it does do a wound, so that is 1 wound taken on because of the reduction in damage. So that's 1 wound taken on the Lord of Contagion. We will do the heavy bolter, and we'll do it with the Hellfire shot using my last CP, which hits D3 mortal wounds for 3. Lovely. Nothing the Lord can do about that. That's down to 4 wounds he's taken. So now the last cannon. Can he be the hero the Imperium needs? Hits. Wounds. Ooh. I've got 1 CP left. Yes. Yeah, it's fine. Not a problem. Just to be super annoying. Okay, that's all shooting over. Let's see what we can do. So the Redemptor will charge into the Poxwalkers. That'll be the only eligible charge being made this turn. And it clears away onto this objective. So moving on to the Primaris Ancient, but obviously the Terminators, as he's surrounded inside that the centre of the battle grid, the Terminators will fight first. It's the only other bit of combat. And as they tear down the Ancient, they advance on towards the Devastator squad and the final objective that they think they can get their hands on. So at the end of Space Marines turn 4, we're on this objective in the far corner, this objective and this objective. So there is potential. The Death Guard will only look at getting two points at the start of their turn 5 and taking them to 11 points. So let's see what we can do. So at the end of the Death Guard movement phase, the Terminators have moved their way round to the edge of the containers. The Lord of Contagion and the Psyker have brought themselves up through the middle of the board. The Foul Blightspawn's headed back towards this objective to try and take the Space Marines off of it, and the Plague Marines have worked their way through the wall, again holding the objective there. So we'll move on to the Psychic phase. It'll be a smite into the Lieutenant, I think he's the nearest one, which just goes off, so he's got 1 wound remaining, so he's gone. And then we'll do Curse of the Leper into the Devastator squad, which doesn't go off, I don't think. It does on the 6th, so that'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, and on this, because they're well within contagion range, anything on the 4 up will be a mortal wound. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mortal wounds. That is 3 out of that squad devastated. So the Foul Blightspawn will fire into the Space Marines and that 1 loading scepter. So we'll see how many shots he gets this time. For 3. Ooh. Yeah, okay, we'll keep it. Strength 6 versus toughness 3 because of the contagion. And re-rolling that 1. Oh, okay. And actually all 3 is a strength 7 versus toughness, so all 3 do go through. He's dead anyway, but we'll double check. Yeah, he's triple dead because it's -3. So that's taken him off of the objective as well. And with that, we will resolve the Terminators into the Marines as well. So again, we'll start off with a Reaper Cannon. All hit, strength 7 versus toughness 3. Ooh, 3 wounds. One takes a wound. Then with the remaining combi volters. God, that roll has been atrocious tonight. That's 3 hits and 2 wounds. Yeah, leaving 1 Marine on 1 wound left. So anything left to do now is really move into the charge phase. This is not a big charge for these Terminators here. And they're in. It's a 10-inch charge. I think it's maybe an 11-inch charge. Let me just double. Yep, 10-inch charge for the Lord of Contagion into the Librarian, which he doesn't make. We'll re-roll that actually. Why not? Doesn't make it. So we'll do the combat, but I think that's going to be game over for the Space Marines. That's it. They can't do with that objective lost, and all likelihood this objective lost. There's just no way back for them. And so after the Terminators fought and tore down the Devastator Sergeant, that's the Heralds of the Scourge have managed to consolidate the Death Guard's position on Sentinel. They've managed to clear down the Imperial defences and really take a foothold in Sentinel. So what this means for the Gehenna Inferno, who knows? Will the Imperium be able to strike back and take Sentinel back? I guess only time will tell. But that's the end of the game. That's it from the Wargaming Garage. Thank you. I know about a zillion mistakes have been made, but as always, I hope you enjoyed it. See you again soon.